today will be one of those days.
Yes, he does very
Mr.
well,
Jones,
I have to say. Yeah.
You've testified before that you were looking at how to manage security products, and this is really key on a global supply chains and rolling software updates. That was something that you focused on at one of your last times you were with us, and that was September of 2018. It's been 2 years. Have you come to any resolution on securing hardware and software that brings rise to this concern?
Well, that's a fairly in-depth question, but happy to try to answer it. I think there's a few elements. So certainly, the broader internet and the broader aspect that we face in terms of technology is that it is a global supply chain, and there are a number of vulnerabilities that are in the software. So there's a few things that we're pursuing. The first one is really about building up the layers of security and the work that we're doing with various industries. So in the context of the electrical infrastructure in Canada, one of the things we are looking for is to build in security, but also not just in the product themselves, and looking at it from very much a similar approach to what would have done in the safety world for their equipment as well. But also now, how do we watch and monitor with them that equipment to make sure that it's operating as expected? And so it's a build it to be as secure as possible, knowing that there's likely to be vulnerability, and then how do you watch to make sure that it's operating as expected so that you can respond quickly, and then building in a response capability as well. And so in the industry, we call that managed detection and response, but it's really about understanding that nothing is invulnerable anymore. It is just the systems are just, they're flawed no matter where they're built, and so how do we liberate? So
it would be fair to say that we can't say that we are secure. It's a permanent battle would be a fair assessment, and we have to be vigilant, moving forward. So I guess it then would make sense that we would want to, only use supplies from trusted countries. That would make sense. I have a question. You've appeared before NCCOP as well, and as you know, we tabled a report recently detailing serious concerns around foreign interference and influence in Canada, and that China played a role in those concerns. We've been deemed, as a country, to be an attractive and permissive target, according to that report. From your perspective,
Mr. Motz, I'm stopping the clock.
No, this is a question specifically about
I just
what do we
want
need to do to change that.
Okay, I just want to be cautious about whatever questions or answers or deliberations NCCOP takes place. That is in fact a committee of parliamentarians that are sworn to a high level of secrecy, like yourself, and I just want to make sure they're going to stay within those guardrails. We know that guardrails are an important thing to stay within these days.
Guardrails are very, very important. I don't want to go to jail for my guardrails. So I said it was what was tabled in their NCCOP report. Okay. So it's already made public. So from that report, Scott, you've read it. What do we need to do as a country to stop or change being such an easy target? Like as I said, we're an attractive and permissive target. What do we need to do different to fix that?
Well, thanks for that question. I think there's a challenge I face here, because for me, my goal really is cybersecurity. So in terms of raising the cybersecurity bar in this space, one of the things that we're encouraging all Canadians to do is to frankly take some steps to raise that bar across the country in terms of just some basic security elements. There are some easy steps that can be taken that would increase our security bar. I mentioned them earlier, but basic hygiene, meaning patching our systems, would have a huge effect on our industry and on cybersecurity. And so that immediately makes us less vulnerable to outside activities and outside exploitation. The second piece really is that when we go on and we're looking at some of the applications and technologies that are out there, going in with a basis that's not just based on the cost. The lowest cost product isn't always the best one. Sometimes looking and saying what's important in terms of security and looking how to measure those, and that's a challenge we all face. I know we all want a good deal, it's particularly as we're heading into the holiday season and looking for gifts. But in a lot of times, technology that's cheap is technology that will be out of date and it will not be updated and patched.
We'll have to leave it there, unfortunately. Mr. Motz, you are well over time.
Photography. And the last thing then is
unfortunately, I have to leave it there. Mr. Harris, 2.5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I do detect a little bit of victim blaming in some of the commentary and suggestions that are coming from some of your work. Obviously, people are not sophisticated in the use of this equipment. Is there any of these patchings of our systems that you're urging people to do? Can any of that be mandated by the government in terms of to the system providers or to the internet providers or to groups or manufacturers that would take away some of those even the simple steps and make people more secure?
Well, thank you for the question, and we certainly don't want to blame the victims on this because it is hard. I understand it's just keeping on top of all of this. The first thing we say is just turn on auto updates and slide on our phones. Just slide it to auto update for businesses as well as individual citizens. But the industry does need to make this easier, and in many cases they are. So, our home laptops, our home computers, etc., tend to do this now. By default, you have to manually say, don't auto update, I will update it manually type of thing. And that's a good progress, but it needs to be made better. The real challenge is for businesses where the equipment doesn't do that. The equipment requires a system administrator to download a patch or an update, to go onto the device, to install it, to test it. And it may or may not work because the device really is finicky. And that's where the industry really does need to start stepping up on cybersecurity to make it easier for these small and medium organizations to stay up to date. But there is some hope. The cloud does offer some benefits to these organizations where updates are automatic. So the Cyber Center, one of the things we did when we stood it up was to move our operations into the cloud because we wanted to work like every business in Canada was working that day or was going to be working. Live our own advice. And what we do is I get updates. In fact, I just saw my computer just told me I just got an update on my Microsoft Teams environment that we use to say, yes, you get the updates. So you get them right away when they're issued by the vendor. And so that makes it easier, and that takes the pressure off of those small and medium organizations to do things. And hopefully, and when you do that, that means you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to go in and download the patches and install them because it comes with it. And so that's really where we're saying this has to be easier for the users, not placing the blame on them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris.
Season's greetings by Canadians for Canadians. Day Space Cafe. Have a good day.